It's a pretty cold and miserable day today. A lot of rain. So I got myself a glass of warm milk and Milo, and we're going to sit down today and do an unboxing because my camera has arrived. So here it is, the Lumix BGH1. So I'm going to do a bit of an unboxing and have a look at it. Then I'm going to explain why I got it, and then what I'll be using it for, and what's upcoming in terms of tutorials and what have you. So this box is pretty small. Not a whole lot. Probably shouldn't show that serial number. Like so. So we'll grab our knife here and cut it on open. So this camera, I guess I can explain why I brought it while I'm opening it. So this camera is probably the cheapest camera you could do virtual production with. Like the cheapest legitimate camera you could do virtual production with. So this one has, let's tuck that back up there. This one has all the right SDI plugs on it for virtual production. So that's Genlock, timecode, and SDI video out. And the camera happens to be very small. About half the price of the Ursa Mini, which is the next camera up, I guess, that you could do virtual production with. Nothing in here, I don't think. Pretty well packed. Nothing in there, no. What do we got here? Some manuals, operator's instruction, put that to the side. So a few things to note with this camera is that, first of all, it doesn't come with a battery, which some people are angry at. I don't really mind. And doesn't come with a charger either, but you do get a wall plug here, so. And what on earth that is, I do not know. Comes with, I think that's Chinese or British, and then that one's American. Not gonna need them. Oh, shoot. Alright. So let's put these wall plugs to the side. So here's the main attraction, the camera body. Comes in a nice little thing here. There we go. Look at that, tiny, really. So this is advertised as a box cinema camera. What that means is up to you. It's a lot more like a broadcast camera than it is like a cinema camera. A lot of people have been a bit upset because, as I'm spinning around here, doesn't have a monitor, doesn't come with a battery, doesn't this, doesn't that, which everyone was upset about, but I don't understand that really, because it's like, neither does a red camera, and apparently everyone loves it. Red cameras, so I mean, what's the big deal? This has got a true 4K sensor. It is Netflix approved. It's apparently the same sensor in the Panasonic GH5 or 5S or something. Why that one isn't Netflix approved, I'm not 100% sure then. Now there's a few things in some reviews I saw that are inaccurate now, is because they've updated it since the review came out. So it does do 422 10-bit internal recording in intra or long GOP. So that's really good. On the back here is all our ports, a little bit like, reminds me of a Z-Cam. So the back, the top here, how do we get that open? Oh, there we go. So we've got SDI out. This is a 3G SDI connector, so that is 1080p at up to 30 FPS. So not perfect, but like thinking about VP, it's like, it's not easy to 4K is not easy to do, really, especially if you're going to push things like RTX. So I think 1080p is fine. It has got timecode in and out, and it has got Genlock in. So this means it can be used not only with things like the Vive, but even things like Mosys and OptiTrack that require Genlocking. The bottom here we have a USB-C port Oh, that is a huge cover for such a tiny thing. And a full-size HDMI. The HDMI is HDMI 2.1, I believe. So 4K 10-bit 422 out of that. We got a Kensington lock because who doesn't like to use a Kensington lock on a camera of all things? The bottom here, I think you get it at this side, so we'll leave that for a second. On this side, what we have is Ethernet, which is interesting. So using the Lumix utility app, you can this will show up as a webcam over Ethernet at full 4K. Not sure if it's 10-bit or not. I'm not 100% sure. Also does power over Ethernet, if you know what that is. So the camera can be powered over the Ethernet jack, so you don't need to put a battery in it. As well as we've got a mic and a headphone jack there. At the top, or I guess the DC plug is the last one here. There it is. So this is just a barrel jack, I think. Yep. Obviously this is where the wall plug is going, but it's also... yeah, no, I've got it on auto manual focus. As far as I could tell, it's 12 volt only, and it looks like it actually says that on the camera. So you're going to need like a converter or something to use a V-mount if you want to power it through that. On the top, we got 3/4 20s. Got the menu button, got to view what's on the SD card. We've got a user assignable button here, the function button. This side we got delete and back. We got the record button. We got a dial which has, again, a button in the middle, got up, down, left and right, and then the outside rotates. We also have a shoe mount. This one has the pins in it, not for flash, but for Panasonic's. They've got like an XLR thing. They originally made it for the GH5, so you can put that on, and then it'll transmit data and power through the hot shoe there, so that you get 2 XLR inputs, which is really cool, including phantom power. So on this side we have a 2.5mm lanc plug. There we go. It's called remote, but yeah, it's 2.5mm lanc remote. We've got the SD card slot, so it takes 2 SD cards. It can do fill one up and then fill the next one up. It can duplicate the same thing to both cards for backup, or it can put on the first one full res and then on the second one proxy. We have 3 more 1/4 20s and a output. I believe this is the output for the heat vent. 2 tripods on the bottom. On this side we've just got 3/4 20s and the intake. On the front we have the power button. Here we've got 3 more user assignable buttons. These ones are a little mushy. They're not satisfying click or anything. And then we've got the sensor with a micro 4/3 mount, which is absolutely tiny. Do I have a Canon lens on my desk? No. Absolutely tiny, but the good thing about micro 4/3 is it's got a short flange distance. That's the distance from the sensor to the back of the lens, which means there's plenty of room to fit lenses that are designed for a larger flange distance, an adapter between them, so you can adapt this to Canon, Nikon, PL, EF, even E-mount, I think, all sorts of things. And so I'm picking up a speed booster. We've got the big battery slot at the back here, so that's like, it really isn't much. Looking at it, for some reason I thought it was going to be bigger. So what else do we have? I got a lens for it as well. Here it is. This is just a cheap one because I will be adapting my Canon lenses to it. Proper cinema lenses, but I just wanted one. This is the like a kit lens, just 12 to 60mm. What have we got here? A butterfly filter or whatever they call them. Can't remember the name of them. Not bad. What is it? 3.5 to 5.6. It's pretty bog stock standard, like the a bit like the 18 to 55 on the Canons. Ooh, okay. That is really weird. I didn't know that. Canon lenses, rotating the lens clockwise when it's facing you like this, so going that way clockwise, usually zooms out, not in. At least I think. Oh, wait a minute. Oops. Alrighty, I had to grab my a random Sigma lens because I thought I was going insane. So what is it? Yeah, that's what I thought. So all the way like as far clockwise as you can go on these Canon lenses, including Sigma, is zoomed out. But then on this Micro Four Thirds, it's zoomed in. That's a bit weird. Didn't know that. Alright. I guess we'll go ahead and put the lens on. Actually, you know what, for that. So, we need to rig this out because it's missing a lot of things. So I went ahead and picked up a bunch of small rig stuff. If you haven't heard of them, they're really good. They make all these camera cages and stuff. Tilta make them as well, but I don't know, so small rig... The real reason I buy small rig instead of Tilta, really, is because Tilta's website is an absolute pain to navigate, and small rigs is easier, so... probably the wrong reason to go ahead and buy from one company over another. So there... That's... Let's see if I can't push that out of shot. Perfect. Alright, so here's the cage. It's got NATO rail. The one thing I like about small rig is they hide tools in the cages and stuff. So it's like, this is a little thumb screw for unscrewing and screwing the camera back on, which is really cool. So this should be nice and form-fitting. Look at that. That just fits so effortlessly in there. Now, let's find all the required screws that I need to screw this together. I need that one, and that one. Alright, and I'm going to need the screw mount on the cage. This cage, apparently you do the bottom ones first, and then the top ones. So it's got screws two in the bottom, so it's not twisting, it's not going anywhere, and then it screws one in the bottom. It's one in the top. That way it really isn't going anywhere. Like that. And one in the top. Lines up nice and neatly. Someone has really thought about that. Like so, and then I can actually just sneak that back in there. Next, what I've got is, if I can find the right screws for it, I think it's these two. There's a little handle that goes on top, just to carry it around. Again, here, if you've noticed, there's an Allen key hidden inside the handle. So I'm going to go ahead and screw that on. Like so. And whoop. Okay, so next I'm gonna go grab a Vive tracker. Righty, I guess while I'm putting this together, I can explain what I plan to do with this camera. Not only will I be using it for VP, it's a Vive tracker. Oh, this one's the one with my 3D thing on it. Not only will I be using this for 3D VP, but I will be doing a beginner's tutorial for VP, or not beginner's tutorial, like a beginner's tutorial series, I guess, for VP. So this will be starting with what gear you need, how we set it up, setting it up in Unreal, and then actually shooting, and then finishing off with some post work. So it's going to be because not all my tutorials lead into one another, so the idea is to have one that will have like several parts that all easily are followed and go together nicely. Like so. And so that'll be probably I'll call it my low budget VP tutorial series or something. And then I will be doing another one which will be no budget. And that won't involve any camera tracking, but will involve lining up a camera with a tape measure for some static shots. So if you want to get your taste of VP. That's quite compact. I'm actually happy with this lens, actually. Look, thinking about it now. It's not bad considering the size of the camera and everything. So, next what I've got is this one. So on the one side here, we've got a 1/4-20. And on the other side, we've got the thicker one. Was that three somethings, I think. And it's got RE locating pins, so this can't be twisted, and that lines up with a hole on the front here, which has the pins as well. So this one will be going straight in there. And we're going to use this Allen key to keep it nice and tight. Oh, there we go. I'm going to make sure it's lined nice and straight, or as straight as I can. And hopefully the Vive tracker will fit on that. That is much tighter. I didn't actually measure this. You may be able to tell. Tighten this up as well. Make sure it's straight. So we were using magic arms, but I had some issues with the magic arms. They would randomly move, I guess. Yeah, no matter how good a magic arm you get, they always like move slightly. It's so annoying. So the idea with this is, unlike a magic arm, it's got a lot less movement variation, I guess, and we can tighten it up really well so it's not going anywhere and nothing's moving and no one's bumping it, and that can be tightened up. And this down here can be tightened up with a smaller Allen key, like so. Whoops. Wait a minute. Clockwise. Oh yeah, that's right. So that is really compact, but it's got a bit of heft to it now, actually. Although it is a bit front heavy, so I'm thinking I've got some batteries coming. I thought the battery slot went in further, so batteries are really going to stick out far.